Lorraine lay sprawled across the shattered ridge, the dust around her still trembling from the earlier explosions. Above her, a pale sky drifted in and out of view through plumes of smoke rising from scattered wrecked shuttles. She had been trained as a scout, silent, swift, impossible to track. Yet nothing in her training had prepared her for her patrol too. End in fire and isolation, her squad had been thrown apart when the blast ripped through the ravine. She remembered the shockwave swallowing sound, lifting stone and metal in a violent surge. Then came the wheezing rasp of her own breath as she tried to crawl free of the debris. A piece of hull plating had pinned her leg, and though she had managed to wrench herself out, she had collapsed only a short distance away. Time blurred. Her thoughts fractured. Her vision wavered. The sun climbed higher, warming her exposed face. Her suit tried to repair what it could, but most of its internal systems had been crippled by the explosion. Pain throbbed through her leg and side. Her attempts to call out had left her voice thin and raw. She knew her people were spread across distant sectors. Rescue would not come swiftly. She had begun to resign herself to the quiet. Lonely end, she believed, awaited her. Then she heard footsteps. She dismissed them at first. Another phantom sound conjured by a failing mind. But the rhythm continued, slow and deliberate, crunching through the crusted soil. Lara forced her head up, despite the pain that flared down her spine. A tall figure approached, framed by heat shimmer and drifting dust. Broad shoulders, a heavy pack, and a suit design she recognized only from shared intelligence reports. A human, her pulse spiked. Stories of humans spread through the systems like wildfire. Some claimed they were impossible to kill. Others that they were reckless enough to leap into danger for strangers. And still others that they built peace with the same intensity they waged war. Laura had never seen one in person. The human broke into a run as soon as he spotted her. He knelt beside her, removing his helmet. His face was smeared with dust, but calm, focused. His eyes flicked across her injuries quickly, professionally. When he spoke, his voice flowed through the translator woven into her collar, steady and unhurried. He asked whether she could move. She tried. Pain crushed the attempt. He nodded once. No panic, no hesitation. Just action. He searched the wreckage around them, found a pair of metal struts, and used them for leverage as he shifted the debris off her trapped leg. He worked slowly, constantly checking her awareness. When the weight finally lifted, the sudden return of sensation made her gasp. "I'm sorry," he murmured, not with pity, but with steady, grounded sincerity. He lifted her with unexpected gentleness and carried her to the shade cast by a broken section of hull. A medical scanner emitted a soft hum as he examined her fracture. He told her the injury was serious but survivable, and that he would help her move. "You do not owe me anything," she whispered. "No one deserves to be left behind," he replied simply. He offered her water. She drank carefully, feeling moisture soothe the raw dryness of her throat. Though he dwarfed her in size, there was nothing threatening about him. He cut away damaged parts of her suit, wrapped her leg with hardening medical fabric, and fashioned a stretcher from scrap metal and straps from his pack. He hauled her across the plain with slow, deliberate strength. She repeated that he didn't need to do this. He repeated that he did it because it was right. Wind howled across the barren landscape. Machinery smoldered in the distance. The world felt clearer with each passing moment. She asked his name. Aaron. Small, simple name. She whispered it back to him. He gave a quiet nod. He explained that he was searching for survivors from several downed ships. He hadn't expected to find someone from her species, but it didn't change his mission. They moved across the jagged terrain at a patient pace. Whenever tremors rippled through the ridge, he shielded her with his own body. She protested. He ignored the protests kindly. They eventually reached a hollow between stone outcrops, a pocket of relative safety. Aaron set her down gently and checked her leg again. Evening descended. Distant fires flickered across the horizon. Aaron set up a signal beacon and a heat source that emitted no smoke. He shared rations that her biology could tolerate. She studied his movements, sufficient, practiced, purposeful. When he asked what had happened to her squad, She told him everything she remembered. He listened without interruption, absorbing every detail. Then he said that other groups had been hit by similar blasts. No one knew who was responsible. A chill passed through her. Erin noticed and reassured her that answers would come later. Survival came first. Night deepened. The beacon pulsed softly. Laura's exhaustion returned, but no longer with the same hopelessness. She felt steadier with him beside her. She asked why humans helped strangers. He paused before answering. "Because we understand loss," he said. "And because if we stop helping others, no matter who they are, we lose something important about who we are." The honesty in his voice warmed her more than the heat source beside them. She slept lightly while Erin stayed alert, scanning the ridge for danger. Dawn arrived with gold light creeping across the stone. Erin checked the beacon and told her a friendly convoy had received the signal and would arrive by midday. Relief washed over her. She thanked him again. He smirked softly and said he'd heard that several times already. She said gratitude should be spoken whenever it rises in the heart. He actually laughed, a warm, brief sound. While they waited, he told her about his homeworld, towering forests, glittering rivers, storms that shook the sky, and nights blanketed in stars. She spoke of floating islands, luminous drifting plants, and winds that glowed with charged particles. Their worlds were vastly different, yet their curiosity bridged the distance effortlessly. A tremor rippled through the ridge. Erin stood instantly, eyes sharp. A flicker of movement appeared near a crumbled cliff. He stepped in front of her. A damaged drone sputtered into view. Before it could scan or engage, Erin lobbed a compact EMP device. The drone collapsed with a hiss. He inspected it and confirmed it belonged to the same hostile network likely responsible for the earlier explosions. Tension lingered, but he stayed close until the sound of engines approached overhead. A transport descended, kicking up dust. Members of multiple species disembarked with medical gear and equipment. They greeted Erin with clear respect. He briefed them quickly on Laura's condition. They lifted her onto a stabilized stretcher with advanced supports as they prepared to move her. She looked back at Erin. He stood at the hollow's entrance, discovered, steady, quietly watchful. She whispered his name. He stepped closer. "You saved my life," she said. He shook his head gently. "You survived. I just helped you get the chance.